All right, Hall of Famer Kurt Warner is going to join us here in a moment. He did the Super Bowl as well. He's become one of our favorite analysts. He knows what he's looking at,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of guys who have played the position who may not be able to explain it well or overloves everybody. Kurt, I always thought, is really fair, but yet looks at things with a critical lens.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been, he had a Hall of Fame career, and in my book, one of the best postseason quarterbacks
ever
in NFL history. He joins us right now, does great work on the NFL Network as well. Kurt Warner joining us on the Corona Hotline. Kurt, how have you been?
I have been really, really well. Busy, as you can imagine, around this time of year, but now I get to take my deep breath. But life is good. No complaints. I hope you guys have been well also.
Yes, we have. And before we get to the quarterback carousel that is spinning pretty quickly now, I'd like to get your impression on what you saw on Sunday from both sides, from what Tom Brady was able to do and what Patrick Mahomes wasn't able to do, Kurt.
Yeah, let's give credit to the Bucs. The Bucs outplayed them in really every facet of this game, and they deserve to win, and it started in the trenches. They won the trenches, and you guys know in this business, as much as we want to talk about the sexy toys on the outside, it comes down to who can win the trenches, and the Bucs won the trenches without a doubt. I'm actually breaking down the Chiefs' offense right now, so for all those that are diehards or like to get into the weeds, I'm going to have a series here on my Twitter, Kurt13Warner, and at QB Confidential, kind of breaking down the Chiefs, because I think the natural response is, they have backup tackles and they didn't block anybody and Patrick Mahomes was running for his life. I don't agree with that. I think, there were issues up front. We knew they weren't going to be great, and they weren't great, but there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of, to me, mistakes in design or mistakes in how things were run. I don't think Patrick Mahomes saw the field like he normally does. I think there's a lot of issues here with this Chiefs that go beyond the offensive line. So I'm going to break that down for everybody. But I just didn't think the Chiefs did a great job of attacking what the Bucs were doing, making adjustments, helping themselves, and then they didn't play well.
That's
on the other side. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Kurt, that's what I was going to ask with your trained eye. What did you see that the Chiefs kind of ignored, and why weren't they able to make some adjustments offensively to what they were seeing on the other side of the ball?
It always amazes me, but sometimes you get into the middle of a game and you're not fully sure what you're seeing, or you think some of the things you're calling will attack that. But, the biggest thing to me was formations. When you're seeing a team like the Bucs that played a lot of two-man, to be able to stack your guys up and bunch them up and force the man guys underneath to have to work through different guys becomes the biggest part of it. Because if you stay stationary, everybody across the board can get up and press you. And then they make everything harder, and they throw off the timing, and they know they have safeties over their head. And Kansas City just over and over again left their guys spread out. They had a couple times where they stacked things up, and they had a lot of success doing it. Was really surprised they didn't make that adjustment. The other thing that you can do is use your backs out of the backfield and force those linebackers to have to move and cover with some primary routes out of the backfield. Didn't think they did that very well. And then run the football. They had some success when they ran the football, actually handed it off. And there were a lot of looks that said, hand the football off. And instead they tried to take their shots down the field and do what they do. And they never really got away from that. And so that to me was probably the one biggest thing that I thought I couldn't believe they didn't make those formation and movement adjustments that could have made life a lot easier on them as a whole and their quarterback and receivers.
Yeah. Kurt Warner joining us. It's Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. I read this to Waddle last week that Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Derek Jeter, and Bill Russell all combined for 26 championships, but none of them won it after turning 36 years old. And, of course, Brady did it at the age of 43. I also said to Waddle and Greeny, I said to them, the only more impressive run or run on par with the Brady run at 43 was Kurt Warner, who came in for Trent Green with the greatest show on turf. When you look at your run as an unproven commodity versus a 43-year-old who is winning his seventh, which is more impressive?
Oh, geez, come on. I'm going to take 10 Super Bowls and 7 Super Bowl wins. I mean, again,
well,
my story.
Not the accumulation, just the singular run and the impressive nature of them.
Again, my story is weird and unprecedented, and it's really cool in its own right to go from where I was to what I was able to accomplish. I'm very, very proud of what I was able to do and the nature of how I was able to do it. But again, I think it's so hard to compare. I just love the consistency, because I was telling somebody last week, I really wouldn't trade my story for anything. But if there was one thing I'd love to have seen, if I got to play with one organization for 20 years, what I could have done, what I could have accomplished, that's one thing that I think back on. But the consistency, the winning, I think flipping teams and being able to bring a leadership and a belief to an organization. And, that's the beautiful thing is like when he beat me back in 2001, he threw for like 145 yards. The other night, he threw for, 210 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, what he did wasn't like transcended in terms of, oh my gosh, Tom Brady at 43. I mean, I've never seen a quarterback play better. What he does, though, is he brings a belief, and in the moment, he makes the plays he's supposed to make. And we all heard the story of him texting his guys, saying, hey, we will win. And what I loved about Brady was in that first half, when there was opportunities to be made, he made them. And again, it wasn't anything, unbelievable, but he made the plays. And basically what he said was, hey, guys, follow me. Just watch me, follow me, trust me. We will win this game. And that's how he played in that game, was he made the plays he was supposed to make, and he gave hope and belief to everybody on the sideline that, oh, yeah, he's right. He's going to. He's going to make those plays. He's going to get us a lead, and we're going to win this game. And it allows everybody to take that deep breath and just play football. And I really believe that is the beauty of Tom Brady. And, again, he's great at X's and O's, and he's a great football player. But he's got a tremendous ability to bring people along with him. I've been telling people it's the most impressive thing to me with the postgame, because I was up calling the game for radio, and I got to watch it, and I got to hear everybody talk and see the podium, getting the trophy presentation on the podium. And I tell you what really jumped out at me, from ownership. The Glazers were up there and holding up the trophy. And the one thing that, I can't remember which one it was, that said, hey, my dad told me that if you want to get someplace, you got to go find a guy that's been there and learn from him how to get there. We did that. We went and got Tom Brady. A couple of weeks ago, I heard Bruce Arians talking and saying, hey, I let Tom Brady coach. I let Tom Brady shape what we're doing. I'm not, to the point where I got to jump in and I got to be the reason why. I've got a guy that I know can do it, and he can get his guys to do it, and with them being together, we can win a championship. I let Tom Brady lead. And then almost to a man, what does Tom Brady bring? What was the difference with Tom Brady here? Not a single one said, man, he throws the best spiral, or, oh my gosh, he makes every throw. What they said was, he led us. We brought him in, and we watched him, and we followed him, and we knew we needed a leader. At all those levels, they basically said, we know we need a leader to take us to the next step. And I think that's so impressive, because there's a lot of people, and I've been in situations before where a lot of good players and a lot of players that have done things, or owners that have done things, coaches that have accomplished things. And a lot of times those guys say, I don't need a leader here. Just give me a quarterback. I'll do the rest. Everyone to a man in that organization seemed like they said, hey, not that we're not confident in what we do, but we know we need someone to come in and lead us to the mountaintop. And we are willing to be led where Tom Brady will take us. And that's exactly what happened in this situation. And there's a lot of teams that have good leaders, but they don't tap into the leadership. There's too many guys that say, I don't need that. We don't need that. I don't need to listen to him. I'm a coach. I'm not going to turn it over to my quarterback. They knew that they needed to be led by a guy that had been there. They allowed him to do that, and the fruits of that labor is winning a championship and believing a different way than they ever believed before. And that was what I took from this season and the postgame and what Tom Brady brought more than anything else. And that impresses me both about Tom Brady, but also about the men that were involved within that organization. That's why they're Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, that's a great explanation for why it all worked in Tampa, no doubt about it. Kurt, as we segue our attention to the offseason now, how surprised are you that the quarterback carousel has already spun a little bit, and how much more change do you see on the horizon?
Yeah, a little bit surprised, obviously, with the trade that the Rams made and going there when they had a young quarterback that had been successful in taking them to a Super Bowl, but understand the move. But I'm one of the people that, I'm more on the conservative side. I don't think we're going to see as much movement as we thought we would early on. Now, there's obviously the speculation with Carson Wentz. I didn't really think that was going to happen. I thought some of the moves made there were to say, hey, we got to give this Carson thing another chance because, we've signed him to this big deal. But, if somebody's out there that's willing to give them something and take that contract off of their hands, now sounds like maybe they're going to do that. So that's a possibility. I think the only other really one in my mind that's a distinct possibility is Sam Darnold. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets said, hey, we're going to keep this guy. We don't feel like it was a great situation to truly assess him. We've seen some good things from him. We've got all this draft collateral. We've got an opportunity to really build a team, and let's see what we have in this quarterback. And then if it doesn't work, we'll go get another guy in a couple years when the team's built. I could see them, of course, with the number 2 pick, going and getting one of these young quarterbacks and saying we're going to build around that guy and trading Sam Darnold. Outside of that, I don't see a lot of movement. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going anywhere. I don't think Deshaun Watson's going anywhere. I think if you're Houston, you've got to just say, we're not letting this guy out of the building. I'm sorry. I know it didn't go well, and we've made some mistakes, but we are going to rectify those mistakes, and we're going to keep this guy in the building. And so I don't see a lot of other pieces that are really going to fall in place where you got to go out and trade or quarterbacks are going to flip teams. I think it's going to be kind of status quo at this point with most teams outside of maybe the Carson Wentz and the New York Jets situation.
Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer, joining us, Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. Obviously, Waddle and I would have our Bears in line for Watson if they would let him out of the building, unlike you were saying, like if they were. But we don't have much to give up, and we, by the Bears, they have the 20th pick, Kurt. We're talking to you every year, and we're complaining to you that we can't find a quarterback. We're always looking for a quarterback, Kurt, and I keep hearing the spider bite story that we've heard before that you could have become a Bear. All these guys we missed on could have had Mahomes, could have had Watson the first go-round. Of the guys who could be available, if you were running the show at Hallis Hall running the Bears, who would you put in a call to? Would it be Wentz? Would it be someone else? Who would you go get?
Oh, I mean, the only one I'm really going to get is Deshaun Watson. I'm not giving up a bunch of collateral for Sam Darnold or Carson Wentz. I think both of them are flawed in a number of different ways, and I don't think they are a plug-and-play, get to the playoffs, compete type situation. I don't think either one of them are there, so I am not, taking on Carson's contract and knowing that there's some issues that we have to fix and hope that we can fix them. That's not something that I'm interested in unless I have to. Darnold, again, I think we've seen some upside, but there's just not enough of a known commodity to me to say I know for sure that guy is an upgrade and that guy can be our franchise guy. So the only one that I really see is Deshaun Watson, who I say, yeah, he's an upgrade. Yes, that guy can lead us, and with him and our defense, I don't think without a doubt. I mean, obviously they were a playoff team this year, but legitimate playoff team and a team that could possibly compete with that in the mix. But that's the only thing that I really see outside of one of these guys that I don't expect to be free. I mean, if you go get Aaron Rodgers, go get Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we know that. But your guys' point is always valid. There's only 6 or 7 guys in this league that you can plug and expect to be a championship-type team with them as a quarterback. Most teams are looking for that guy or trying to find that guy, and for long periods of time, they don't have one. And so you have to have everything else go right for you. And so the Bears is really no exception. The exceptions are those special quarterbacks that transcend teams, and there's only a handful of them. And so now, like you guys, you're kind of grasping for straws. Like,
right.
Okay, does Carson give us an upgrade from Mitch? Because we've seen him 2 years ago play really well, but then he's kind of fallen apart. And Sam Darnold, well, I saw that one throw that he made, and that was awesome. If we can just get that 20 times a game, but we also saw all the bad, so that's kind of what it becomes, is you're kind of going, okay, what's the lesser of two evils here, as opposed to who's out there that can take us where we want to go? Who's out there that's a franchise guy that we can say, this guy's our guy for 10 years, because that's what you want. Nobody wants a guy that can be there for a year or two or be a stopgap guy. And so now I just feel like when you ask those questions, it's more, well, we don't really think Mitch is the guy. Can we get a slight upgrade somewhere? But, I mean, are we really shooting for a slight upgrade? Or are we shooting for, let's find a guy that we can build around for 10 years, because that's really the only chance we have to turn this around and get everybody excited about our team and really feel like we've put this thing together right, so we can actually compete on a year-to-year basis.
Kurt, the concern, at least on this show, is that the Bears will find themselves bidding with somebody for the services of Carson Wentz. I mean, look, I have an untrained eye, but I look at him and I say he's broken, and I don't think our guys are equipped to fix him. When you see Carson Wentz, and you've described him as, obviously there are some flaws there, how fixable is he in your opinion?
Well, I don't know the full answer. That's the hardest thing. I can tell you on tape. So the first thing is there's a lot of technical flaws there. And I don't know how receptive he is. I don't know what he's capable of fixing. So anybody that is technically flawed, there's going to always be some inconsistencies. There's going to be things that they miss. And so that's the first piece, is I need a guy that at least I can count on to make the throws he's supposed to make almost every time. If I can't, that's already a red flag that, man, we're not even going to get what we're supposed to get. And then the second part is there's often times where I don't really know when I watch film what he's looking at. Like, I don't know what he's reading here. I don't know where his eyes are, why he's looking over there, and what his plan is on the course of a play. Now, that could be coaching or that could be player. I don't really know the answer to that, but there's too many opportunities like that where, I just always feel like when you get to this level, you really should have a plan. You really should know the things you're supposed to know, and you might miss some. You might not see the coverage right, but when the coverage is right there in front of you, you should be able to get to the right guy and make that read. And if you can't, I start to wonder, okay, what's the problem here? Why don't they know what to do here? And that gives me pause with anybody that I'm going to go get if I don't really know. And now, you could sit down and talk to them, and they could have them take me through tape, and I would have a better sense of that. But when you put technical issues with lack of vision and plan, that to me is not a guy that I feel like I can win with and I can build around. So those are the two biggest things that jump out to me. And I guess I'll give you a third one. I go back to the year because everybody points to the year that he was probably going to be the MVP before the injury. And if you go back and watch that year, he was about a 61% passer that year. What made him special was he was so good ad-libbing and creating plays off schedule that's what separated him. And, I mean, he was really good in third and long and really good at making the special play. But when I go out and get somebody, I want to say, okay, if I don't get the special, what am I getting? What is the package here if – for an entire year, the ad-lib isn't there, or he can't do that anymore? What am I getting as a quarterback? And so when you take that and you break that down, I just think there's way too many issues of what you're getting without hoping him to be special, that to me it's a huge risk to think that you can go get him, take on that contract, and all of a sudden he's going to become that same guy that he was in 2017 when he was competing for an MVP, because it wasn't just I was picking teams apart. I was consistently accurate. I was doing all the right. That's not what made him special that year. It was the extra. And I don't ever want to have to live hoping that a guy can make the extras and not just bring a good, solid quarterback and a good, solid package from the beginning.
Yeah. Kurt, do you want to run the Bears, please?
I was just going to say,
we'd like to have you. Can you run the Bears?
I don't think my wife wants any part of that.
I was going to say,
I'm busy enough already.
We need to send the tape of what you just said up to Hallis Hall, though,
to
keep them from doing something silly. So,
Kurt, thank you so much. We love talking football with you. You're great at what you do. We appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt.
Anytime, guys. I love getting on with you guys, and I love talking ball. So give me a call anytime.
That's awesome.